Welcome everyone to the films I decided to watch in 2023. I don't even want to take up too much of your time, so let's just get right into it. Fast and the Furious 1 through 7, I decided to start the year by watching the Fast and Furious movies, because I know if I start at the worst, then my year can't get any better than that, so Fast and Furious. The first three were alright. I thought I liked the racing stuff, that was pretty cool. I liked the car stuff, like that's interesting. But once it got like 4 and 5, when the heist stuff started to pick up, I hated it. I couldn't really bear watching it. I mean, as you can see, I couldn't even finish the last two, because I just couldn't bear it anymore. Yeah, we'll not be watching those ever again. Tokyo Drift was my favorite though.
Mighty.
Then I watched Avatar: The Way of the Water. I had never seen the first one before going into it, which you probably are going to be mad at me for that, but I've never had too much interest in picking it up. But I did really enjoy the Avatar: The Way of the Water. I thought it was fun. It was really long for one, but it was still really enjoyable. The action was great throughout. I didn't think the villain was very good. He was kind of boring, not gonna lie. A lot of that story was like cliche and but the final scene was fantastic, that last fight scene, and the themes were amazing. I really liked the ideas of family and bringing that together, because it really is just a family film. Emily put me on, and I can say that I did enjoy the Blue People stuff. The human aspects really were tough to get through. I love the whole tree sequence and all of that fighting at the end. That was really, really good. I'm not sure if I'll watch any of the future ones though. Then I rewatched The Menu and Interstellar. I talked about The Menu last month, so I'm not going to talk about it much here. Interstellar, freaking love it. Watched it with Ryan. I'm sure I was annoying the fuck out of Ryan though, because after every song that started, I would name the name of the track, and I'm sure she was getting pretty annoyed by that. I listened to that way too much.
I'm placing you under arrest for future.
Picked up little Spielberg and Tom Cruise, of course, with Minority Report. I love Tom Cruise films. Scientology is kind of weird, but Tom Cruise's films are amazing. He's a good actor. I really like his stuff. I've watched every single episode of Futurama, and sometimes when I'm watching movies and stuff, I'll see the riffing of things that they take, and I had no idea that they took one of their episodes straight from this movie, and that's pretty cool, and I thought that was pretty funny. But great film, I loved it overall. I rewatched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in 1917, some of the best from 2019, Tarantino's possibly best film, and Sam Mendes' magnum opus.
What are you? I'm complicated.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Jack and I watched this. He really liked it as a kid. I'd never seen it before, so we decided to put it back on and watch it because I had the DVD. And it's a film. It was made. Sean Connery's British accent is atrocious, but that was the funniest part of the film, so got a good laugh out of it.
What can I do for you, Rod?
Show me the money.
Jerry Maguire, another Tom Cruise, of course, gotta keep the Tom Cruise up. Gotta watch at least one Tom Cruise movie a month. I mean, that's like ritual at this point, pretty much. But Jerry Maguire was great. The sex scenes were a little bit weird, but I did enjoy the story. It was a little cliche at times and a little kind of just boring writing, but hey, I really enjoyed it. I had a great time. Fantastic ending, by the way. Love the ending. Three Colors Blue, absolutely beautiful. It's perfect, and I really don't know what else to say about it. The cinematography is beautiful, and in the opening scene, when we're looking through Julie's eyes, it's just one of the coolest shots I think I've ever seen. Great film, amazing storytelling, and I highly recommend watching.
So, I mean, what's the story? I mean, you got a guy, or?
Yes, 3 big ones, and they went black.
John Hughes' 16 Candles is one I haven't seen in at least 5 years, and I didn't really remember much from it, but I thought I'd give it a rewatch, and I could say it was pretty funny still. I really enjoyed it. I mean, some of the jokes were a little offensive, but hey, it was still a good watch, and I had a lot of fun with it. John Wick, whole lot of killing, and I love it. Three Colors White, second in the trilogy. This film is also just beautiful. The story is so simple, but it's like, I really don't know how to describe it. You just gotta go watch it, seriously. One of the most beautiful things I think I've ever seen. Julie Delpy is one of my favorite actresses. Fucking truck. Julie Delpy is one of my favorite actresses. Highly recommend watching.
Ali.
Then I watched Tuesday, which is a short film from director Charlotte Wells, who actually did the new After Sun that just came out last year. Great little short. It was about 11 minutes long, so it was super easy to get through. The guitar piece in it was beautiful, and I'd recommend checking it out. Jurassic Park, another Spielberg. Gotta love Spielberg. I love this movie so much. I really can't describe how much of a connection I had with this movie. It's just beautiful beyond belief. The visual effects are amazing. Watch it with Jack and Ryan, and Jack could say every single line of this movie, which is absolutely awesome. Then I watched the third film in the Three Colors trilogy, Three Colors Red. The entire trilogy is just so beautiful, and I can't really say which one I like the most because they're all so perfect. But this one was just, the story was beyond the other two. It was just phenomenal. The interactions between the judge and Valentine are just absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend checking out this entire trilogy.
It's a good day to save the world.
We Can Be Heroes, directed by Robert Rodriguez, one of my favorite directors. The sequel to Shark Boy and Lava Girl. It doesn't really focus too much on Shark Boy and Lava Girl. It kind of changes over and focuses more on their kids like coming up into the world and becoming their own superheroes. And while Taylor Lautner wasn't in it, so Shark Boy kind of just had moans and groans throughout the movie. He didn't have a single line, and that was kind of funny, but great film.
I am Puss in Boots.
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I don't know how DreamWorks just decided to make one of the greatest animated movies of all time. The animation is beautiful, story is amazing. Jack's character design alone is one of the coolest things ever. It's horrifying and brilliant at the same time. And death is legitimately terrifying. I was shitting my pants in the theater. Then I watched Hitchcock's The Man Who Knew Too Much from 1934. It's really cool to see his editing style still have that same touch as it did in Psycho. When the tension builds up, the cuts start coming rapid, more rapid, and more rapid. And I really like seeing that. Very great film, highly recommend.
Killed his dog.
John Wick Chapter 2, whole lot of killing, and I love it.
The Japanese archipelago, 20 years in the future. Canine saturation has reached epidemic proportions.
Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs is definitely my comfort film. When I was down in Mexico, I actually met someone that didn't like it too much. They said when they went to go see it in theaters, they even walked out of the theater, and my heart hasn't been hurt that bad in a long time. I rewatched Denis Villeneuve's Sicario, one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. Not an ounce of comedy throughout the entire thing, but it's absolutely necessary and one of the coolest films I've ever seen. The Shooting with Jack Nicholson is a pretty interesting Western. Not much really happens, but everything that's set up comes back perfectly in the end, and if you're not paying close attention, you'll probably miss a lot. Nicholson plays a very intriguing and intimidating character, and he's legit terrifying because you never really know what he's gonna do. Hail Caesar, watch this with the film club. It's hilarious and one of the Coen brothers' best from their recent filmography. Highly recommend checking it out. It is perfection. Communists.
Prague.
So how will that work if you're living with me in Brooklyn?
Well, it'll be the same except I'll be in Prague.
Kicking and Screaming, which is one of his first films. Noah Baumbach is one of the most gifted writers we have, and he's easily my favorite from the 2000s and until current times now. Story is simple and hilarious, and the range of characters is so incredible. Anyone who watches the movie will be able to connect with at least one of these characters he's put in there.
To bring you unforgettable suspense.
It Came from Outer Space, Jack Arnold once again. You might notice I like his films a lot. I mentioned this film last month and I knew I just had to watch it. The creature has an amazing character design, Arnold's best writing, especially for a female character, and it's just one of the best sci-fis I think I've ever seen. Obviously the film inspired the great John Carpenter's The Thing, and while you can see the inspiration, there's still a lot that's different, and I really highly recommend checking it out. Then I rewatched Rio, the bird movie, with Jesse Eisenberg. His performance is horrible, but everything else is bearable.
I have a story.
Welcome to Texas.
Then I watched last year's release, Vengeance, which I thought was pretty dang good. I missed it in theaters, but I knew I had to check it out once I saw it was on streaming. And it was a pretty pleasant surprise for me. BJ Novak's directorial and writing debut was a really good time and a mystery worth to watch. I'm really glad to see Ashton Kutcher finally getting some really good roles as well, and some dramatic roles, and his monologue at the end was killer. The Before trilogy I rewatched, and I have a lot to say about this, so sit back and relax. When I looked back at my memory of the films, I thought the first was a million times better than any of the other ones, even though I thought they were all still masterpieces. Now after a rewatch, I can say that they're even all fantastic. I don't really think any of them are better than the others. If I had to pick a favorite, I would say Sunset is definitely my favorite, but Sunrise just has the beauty in the meeting and losing each other, and Midnight just has the beauty in fighting, but ending in that idea of the two laughing together that's set up throughout the entire franchise. Beautiful films. This is one trilogy that I think is the greatest trilogy of all time, and everybody should watch. The Big Shave, a short film from Martin Scorsese. I can see the inspiration for Wes Anderson. Might have pulled from this, from the shaving scene in The Royal Tenenbaum Strikes by Wes Anderson. Definitely one of my favorite Wes Anderson films. Every time I watch this film, I just find more and more stuff I like. And the cab company being called Gypsy Cab Service is just absolutely hilarious. Nobody, Whole Lotta Killin', and I love it. John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, Whole Lotta Killin', and I love it. Then I watched The Monsters. These 50s and 60s sci-fi films are just so funny to watch. They're so cool, and I can never get enough of them. Jack Arnold also wrote this one, so you can see the Jack Arnold touch in there. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I have a really deep connection to this film. It was actually the first script that I ever read, and I know Kaufman is kind of a weird choice for a first script to read, but I can say it was absolutely phenomenal. When I was confused, it was one of the coolest things I've ever read and watched in my entire life, and I love this film so much. Please watch. Jim Carrey's performance is absolutely amazing. Then I watched After Sun, directed by Charlotte Wells, and I can say I get it now.
And lo, the beast looked upon the face of beauty.
Then I watched Peter Jackson's King Kong for the first time, and my brother really likes King Kong a lot, and he's always watching the Kong and doing the Kong fist and stuff, so I absolutely love that. But this movie was not the best. It was pretty much the exact same as the original film, just twice as long, and it did not need to be twice as long. Then I rewatched Blade Runner 2049. I have a sculpture of this film at home from the head in Las Vegas. I also have a painting at home with Kay walking through Las Vegas, and my license plates are literally BR 2049. So if that doesn't say what I like about this movie, then I don't know what does.
Come on, Peter.
Ari Aster's Hereditary is something so beautiful and so terrifying, and I absolutely love it. I don't really get scared when I watch horror films, but this one is just on a completely another level. Every single scene that happens, it just shivers my entire body and it makes me legitimately ill. One of the coolest endings I've ever seen. The music is fantastic, and I highly recommend watching. Sky Captain the World Tomorrow. Jack Rank recommended me this, and I can say that I'm not really too fond of the comic book films from the early 2000s. Somehow it's worse than Marvel. I don't really understand any of the characters, and their motivations feel very flat and a little uninteresting. The villains just get their ass kicked the whole time, and it's not really as entrancing as a comic book movie needs to be. Also, the film's just Deus Ex Machina after Deus Ex Machina, so it just gets really repetitive. Then I rewatched all the Blade Runner short films, and I'm currently reading Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep before I jump back into the original Blade Runner.
At this year's Cannes Film Festival, a simple story, so touching.
Scrolling through HBO Max, I found this film called Rosetta. I didn't really know what it was about, but I decided to click on it. It looks pretty interesting. And this film won Palme d'Or at the Cannes International Film Festival in 1999, and I can say it was beautiful. It really shows how the working world and how hard it can be to not only get a job, but keep a job while you're stuck in poverty. Beautiful story and some of the best acting I've ever seen in my entire life. I capped off the month watching Phantom Thread. Paul Thomas Anderson, this is one of my favorites of his. It's completely different from any of the other films he's ever tried to make, and it just, you can see it from the very instant it starts. Daniel Day-Lewis and Vicky Krieps are amazing in their roles, and I could watch a 10-hour cut of this film. Well, there you go. There's the films I watched in January 2023. Be sure to check out my Letterboxd to see more of the films I watched and more thoughts on the films I watched. I didn't cover everything that I watched in this video, so hopefully you can check out and see some more things I watched there. Anyway, I will see you next month.